Ich mache hier ich will bekommen mit Protein. Say at Khatsois and noch aber Khatsois. Ja, you know. Ich nehme schon ihr Klau. Also, ich mache schrift der Reise. Ich will bekommen mit Protein. Yeah. They say don't learn anymore.
Yeah. Oh, that they can do. They say Shabbat. Yeah. But if you did it, you take away the mitzvah.
It says
שיכולים בני למרי הרב תספיל הרבנות שאפילו כפי ישמע עצמה שמן התורה כל הלילה אין יקראו איש אחת שיכולים חכמים לפודרו ממצווה
that's something else. Yeah,
שאויסן came משום סיוג משום תיאל מצווה
yeah, that's a different that's a different act. They could say don't do the mitzvah after Chatzos. Come and have a koich to say Shabbat Asa, don't do it, right? We talked about yesterday. Somebody eats in a sukkah, and there's a small sukkah, and the table is halfway in the house.
I have a picture of it in the Mishnayos.
Right.
I think
Right.
I don't know which one it is, but
yeah.
I saw it.
So the thing is that the Chum said, don't do it. Shamiyim shechacha. You're not yotzim mitzvah sukkah. Shamiyim shechacha. So Pasha is only the Rabbanon. Huh? What does that mean? The Rabbanon said, don't do it. Maybe you're going to go inside and eat in the house because the table's in the house, and you're sitting in the sukkah. So some said that sukkah is no good because Shema, you're going to eat where the table is, right? And you go into the house, eat in the house is not a sukkah. So that's the Rabbanon. That's Pasha Pshat. So comes again, we spoke out yesterday. Orchaneh says, no, give them a sukkah. That is a deraisa. You're not yotzei that sukkah. If you eat in that sukkah, you're not yotzei midaraisa. So it says in the Gemara, lo yotzi dechavosei. So Orchaneh said, just like it says lo yotzi dechavosei on such a sukkah, and say yotzei chavosei, you're not yotzei choiva. Even though the Rabbanon say you're not yotzei midaraisa, who are then by the Shkol Shloyom Pesach Matzah Morah, that they're not yotzei the Pesach. The mitzvah of Pesach and the mitzvah of Matzah and the mitzvah of Morah, if you don't say these words, you're not yotzei midaraisa. Very good. Right. So he's saying that's a deraisa. That the midaraisa you're not yotzei. What does it mean midaraisa you're not yotzei? The Chum could say whatever they want to say. Fine. The Chum could say don't do it. Put Shabbat Asa. But if you did it, you're not yotzei midaraisa. That's still shver to say. So I was just thinking yesterday. We said we went a couple of weeks ago before Yontu. We said that. The Shaitan in Goyen says that because by Truma it says the Chum gave Shurim, right? Ayin Yofa is one of 40. Abeni is one of is 50, and Ayin Ra is one of 60. What happens? He does one of 100, right? So the thing is Shaitan that he's not yours at all. How is it possible not yours at all? I chita achas poites is akri. We can't design come and say, take away the mitzvah, take away the mitzvah me. I want to do the mitzvah 1 second. What do it to me? I want to go with the rice. You take it away from me. So Shaitan Goyim, because he does the mitzvah, he always does the mitzvah b'shem kol yisrael. I have a sigal because you say the Shem Yichud. You say b'shem kol yisrael. What is b'shem kol yisrael? Because you want to do the mitzvah like the Chum obligated you to do the mitzvah. So maybe you're saying if you don't do it according to the way the Chum did it, you're in agreement. That it's not a mitzvah, but if you wanted to hedge your faket, that's it.
Where's the guy? The guy?
The guy is in the May. We spoke it out when we learned that. The Chaznish, yeah.
Oh. Why is when you point to Simonim by the Seder, you say Matzah.
That's his friend. That's it.
No, I'm saying, but you said just now that you don't say these things, but the Pesach, you don't point to just the Matzah.
You don't do it, you're not Yotzei Chavos. That's what it says in the Mishnah, right? And it says not good. What does it mean, Yotzei Chavos? Pashas is, Yotzei Chavos means what? That Midrabona. You're not doing the Rabona, but he says, the Orchaneh says Midrash. That was the shmuz yesterday.
Okay. That even from the other places, then it's automatically the Truma is chal in what's washing them the cracks or whatever.
The Kitan though.
You get to Shishma and Mishma and that.
The Tanai Bezin. That's the Tanai Bezin. The Bezin says that they're going to give Truma for you even where it's not. So the Kasha was, what do you mean Bezin saying for me? But I didn't do the Truma. How does it become Truma? Oh, it's a magic? How does it work? That's it, because when you give the Truma, you say you want to do whatever the Chacham want it to be. So that's not the way. Okay. Then Beis, Omid Beis, gehen wir weiter. Die Nishmas geht aber so, Mischheim ist, Gesche Heim, Yitzchak, Chana, Reise, Bas, Gott, für Schleim, für Kamina. Das heißt, für Schleimer, ja, aber Rivke, für Schleimer, in Nishmas Leib, Mordechai ben Ephraim Yehuda. Okay, so the Gemara. What do we have yesterday, everybody? So we had yesterday the Shitta of Rabbi Kiva. If it's Godel, a Shlish, Lifnei Rosh Hashanah, the Tvua was Godel, Shlish, Lifnei Rosh Hashanah. And Godel, Shlish, Lifnei Rosh Hashanah, there's two ways to understand it. One way is the Gemara Rosh Hashanah, set Apostle in the Torah HaKadosh of Osis, Atua, Lishloish. So 1/3 happened before Rosh Hashanah. So that's when you say it's considered Perish Shishas. And then Vasafta is to Osa Bishviz. You're permitted to gather and to be koised this tvua in the 7th year, because the 1/3 was already in 6th year, has it in like Paris of the 6th year. That's one pshat. The other pshat is that according to the Rambam, that's Anois Hamaisis. Anois Hamaisis is by 1/3, and we always go Bos Anois Hamaisis. When is it considered ripe? That's already Mishnayos that say that 1/3 is considered when it's Roy, and then when it's Roy, that's the Paris of that year. Zok it's the Gemara Kasha. Omer of Zira, the Ravina. So the Zira to Ravina, Taten Milan Atanomim, you said two things. V'inam pligi hado alado. And there's a contradiction in what you said. Hocha at morin, here you said that this member from Yosi Yonisim bar Yosi, af chachamim, this goes even according to the chachamim, who are the baplukte fin Rabbi Kiva, l'chayvu b'tesefes, elo, whatever grows more on the one shlish that happened before Rosh Hashanah, elo l'shava. Everything goes according to what grew in the 6th year, because 1/3 was in the 6th year. So whatever comes and grows later, afterwards, it also has a din of Perishishas. What does that mean? Shimhoya Sheni. If the 6th year was the 2nd year in the cycle of Shuas, it has a din of the 2nd year, so you give Maisa Sheni. Oni is the 3rd year has Maisa Oni. So that also corresponds. Whatever the din is, it has a din of Perishishas. It also has a din, when you get to the cycle of Maisa Sheni and Maisa Oni, it goes together. That's what you said. That these two things go together. Here you say it goes after Chachamim. It goes according to the shittas of Chachamim. And here you're saying, just now, you just said here in the Gemara, yesterday's Gemara, the shittas Rabbi Akiva. Manashach goes to the Rabban, or does it go according to Rabbi Akiva? What is it? So that's the stira. And for the Gemara, either I say Rabbi Yonason by Yosef b'shittas Rabbi Akiva Rabbi. If you're going to tell me, as every Gemara is like that yesterday's Gemara, that this Rabbi Yonason by Yosef is going according to Rabbi Akiva, is Rebbe, Kamoy to Rabbi Akiva Oma, just like Rabbi Akiva said. So till now, the Gemara did not talk about Svichim, right? We talked about regular Tua. Tua goes in the 6th year. It goes Bosher the Shlish, because the Nois HaMaisis, or you learn out from the Posig, and we say it has the din of the 6th year. So Mela is not, it doesn't have a din of Shuyas. Now the Gemara is saying that this goes according to the Bekiva, who's the one that says that Issa Svichim Toireken. The Issa of Svichim is an Issa Deraisa. What says Svichim? The Svichim is simply understood. Vidavax. There you go. I like that ever good. Who says Vidavax?
Never heard of it before.
You never heard of it before?
I promise you, I never heard.
Okay. But what Vidavax means, I did have a guitar. I guess the Yankee said. Okay, fine. But Vidavax means that it grew by itself. It was not planted. Vidavax,
like the mushroom.
Like weeds. Yeah. They grow by mushrooms. Right? They grow by itself. That's Svichim. Now, Svichim, Zok to the Bekiva, we paskin most of that Svichim is mutter. But the Bekiva argues, and the Bekiva says, Svichim is Toireken. In other words, it grows in the 6th year, it grows by itself, nobody planted it, it's also not Toireken. So now he's saying, this is Rabbi Yonason Gemara. We're talking about what grew in the 6th year. You mutter to take it out in the 7th year. You know why it's mutter? Because you know why it's also, and you have to have that it grew in the 6th year, Dafka. Why? Because Issa Svichim Toiren. Issa Svichim is in the Raisa. Cain, similar. Rabbi Yonason by Rabbi Yosi, Oma, Issa Svichim Toiren. He also says Issa Svichim in the Toiren. So if it was 1/3, it grew less than 1/3 in the 6th year. And now after it was less than 1/3, goes into the Paris Shvi'is, Asura Mishim Svichim. Now it becomes also because of Sviach. And even though, look, yes, the Gemara, here comes a big machlokes now, we'll soon see the machlokes now, that even though you have an Issa Sviyah, and if I'm learning now like a Bekiva, this is Sviyah, is Osam in HaTorah, the Chodesh should be Chal of them, the Issa of Shviyas, all the Kedusha Shviyas should be Chal. Zokt aber yes the Gemara, V'loi Chala Aleha Kedusha Shviyas. The Issa of Kedusha Shviyas, based how Kedusha that you can't Lachlo, Leiluschayra, you're not be Mabed, all the different halachas, many halachas, like Ansim Sechta, the Kedusha Shviyas, Smiach, even though Smiach is min HaTorah, but it doesn't have the din, Halti as there gets in the Yishalmi, doesn't have the din of Kedusha Shviyas. Why not? So yes, the Gemara Shekva Hoyu Asovim. Asovim was like grass, and if it's grass, even though I say that according to the Bekiva, Smiach is something which is planted by itself. Grass grows by itself. You have grass. It's a vax from Zichalain, right? And it's Abba Din Abba Asovim Lechal Alem Kedusha Shviyas. Those are Yisrael in the Gemara, that if it's a din of grass, it's Esav, it's not Tvua, it's not Chal on something which is not Tvua, it's not Chal on it, the din of Kedusha Shviyas. That's the simple understanding of this Gemara. There's many different machlokes here, we'll soon see, but a couple the Iver from the Gemara is Hazai, that Nachamal Shviyas is also Svichim Arosa according to the Bekiva. Nonetheless, it doesn't have it's only a din of Esav, it's only grus. Grus is grass, and it's, even though it has a din of Sviach, but it doesn't have a din of Kedusha Shviyas. Zokta Pnei Moshe. In the narrow lines, Inin Pli Hado Alado. The machlokes here stated. The Hocha at Amrim, it's going on of Yonisim by Yosi. You just said now, the Afla Masha Chayv Chachamim Behatei Sefes. Even though the Chacham are going to say that Yechayev and what grows into Sefes, what grows afterwards, in Kamoka in the Inyan Shnas Achiyev, when I'm talking about when is the Chiyev, is it the 6th year, is it the 7th year, or is the 2nd year when they get to Ma'aser Sheni, when they get to Ma'aser Oni, Holchon Onu Acha Shona She'ova She'godel Bo Hashlish Harisha. It's the Saifa the din of Shviyas. Saifa the din of, we don't know where it's considered the Ma'aser Sheni. We want to say Ma'aser Oni. How do I decide which din does it apply to these things that are growing? You go Bosa 1/3 growth. Whenever the 1/3 growth was, whatever year it is, that's paid Shishis, and it's also going to get to Shona Sheni, Ma'aser Sheni, and Ma'aser Oni. V'im Kain. And if that's your opinion, my Haide Komi Aton Hocher, the Ice, the Yosin, Kishutza Bekiva Rabbi. But that's the Shitz of the Chachamim. Why all of a sudden now you're saying go to the Bekiva? Bekiva is about Pluktav in the Chachamim. Hare Afla Chachamim, Holchen Onu Le'in Hashana Achash Lisharishon. The Chachamim say that we also consider it that we go both to the one shlish, because that's the noise of Maises, or to Shlosh Hashana, whatever it is. The Chachamim don't argue on the Bekiva in the halacha of shlish. So why are you saying goes according to the Bekiva? Finding Namin the B'Yonison, the Bein Hashana, the Bein Hashana, who the Kama. It's masking it goes to feel like the Chachamim for Rabbi Kiva. So why are you telling me now? Yesterday's Gemara, it goes shit to Rabbi Kiva Rabbi. That's the steer the Gemara is asking. And for the Gemara, either I said Rabbi Yonason, the steer is the kash is on Rabbi Yonason. So he's saying like this: Kloimer, v'oid. Either Rabbi Yonason can Rabbi Kiva Rabbi Svila. If you say that Rabbi Yonason said his halacha that he go boss shlish, goes only according to his Rabbi Kiva. Im kain hoyu loy lahachmer gam b'shvius. You should say the same halacha would be the chumrah by shviyas. Mishum the hatei sefes, whatever grows sviche shviyas. If the sefes was sviche shviyas, and Rav Kiva Rabbi is svilei the svichim b'shviyas asurim in ha'toyren. Rav Kiva is the one that says that svichim is ose midaraisa. He's the one that says this because they come in behedi. But how do I know this? So he says sheitas in toyis koyanim bevesin the el bepeikei the shviyas. I already talked about it. So maybe we're talking here b'negei to the halacha of svichim. And svichim is also minatayit. Therefore, he said that this halacha goes to kibbutz, but red being svichim. And who's the only one that holds that svichim is the nicer? The one that is that's the shutz of kibbutz. The rabbanon don't say svichim. But the kasha in the Gemara was we're not talking about svichim. So why are you pinning this on Rabbi Kiva? Even the rabbanon agree with that. And for the Gemara, you know why Rabbi Yonason said go to Rabbi Kiva? Because he's talking about only svichim, and the only one that holds by svichim. It's also minatayit, and you go b'tzah shlish. That's Rabbi Kiva Rabbi. What about the via pochas mishlish? Maskana the milsa lielhu the kama imeviu shlish. So we say then you go according to whatever the shlish was, whatever year that was. Right? The daikalo the bevina hifsik if it was less than 1/3, and now it goes into shvius. After shvius, asura mishum svichim. V'tzarich la'afkiya kedin svichim. The din is by svich v'hold min ha'toyra. You have to be mafkid. You can't take it in, even though it grew by itself. But the halacha is according to the Bekiva, he brings a drash in Toyes Kahanim that it's also. Aval in yilachlam b'kedisha shvius. Einach enamid. The Bekiva is saying halacha that what that shvius svichim is also on shvius. Aber lechala le kedusha shvius. It doesn't have a halacha of kedusha shvius. Kedem mefarish timer. Kedem mefarish timer. Kedem mefarish timer. The fish shekva hoyu asor. I'm giving it out. What's the reason that it doesn't have kedusha shvius? Einach enamid svichim is also min ha'toyra. But what is sviach? It's vidavax, right? It grows by itself, but what kind of din does it have? Shtei don nishami yisoy did. It's grass, grus, asif, kloima. The mehem asovim hoyu has a din of asif. Koidim hashviyis. That's how. That's what it is. Because it grows by itself, has a halacha of asif. Va'afa bi shleigod l'shlish, even though it's not 1/3, meaning all the growth happens in the 7th year, even though later it grows in shviyas, and even though the whole shviyah is also me'adanaisa, it's not also me'adanaisa, but it's not also the dinim of kedusha shviyas. It does not have the din of kedusha shviyas. V'imaviyah pachas meshlish b'shviyas lefnei shmin. Let's go more right. Okay, sure. Atkan the pnei Moshe. Let's go now to Nafulda. Zog the Nafulda. On the left side, Kain Rabbi Yonasan Rabbi Yossi Yoma, the Ilu, the Rabbanon, Shnei Shlishim Hanigbonim Shviyas. If 2/3 come right in Shviyas, Yesh Bem Den Shviyas, also the Konson, Kamoshech Hayov and Rabbanon B'Maisa Kashviyas Shlish Lefnei Goy, only 1/3 by a Goy. The rest grew by a Yid. Ochinami Medina Chai B'Shviyas. They say you go Basa where it grew, the majority grew. If it was the 2nd year, the 6th year of Shviz was the 2nd year of the Maisa. So the 2/3 you have to have a din of Shnas Shishas. If it goes both to the 6th year, there's no Shviz. Mikol v'kol bosa hashana shegodlu shnei hashlishim. According to the Chachamim, they go according to where the 2/3 grow. Not according to, now we just said before, this goes according to the Bekiva. The Bekiva is going to say you go bosa 1/3. The Fikach, I said dafka ke Bekiva. In Cain, you said this halacha that you go bosa shlish goes according to the Bekiva, and also you said the halacha of the Chachamim in Cain that it goes 2/3. You go bosa the 2/3. Shnei advarim ali pligadod. This is astir. Or you go like to the Bekiva, or you go to the Chachamim. And for the Gemara like this, Ida Bekiva calls him Masig Rebbezeira. In one of the Kaim Divre Belezer, the Oma Isa Rebbe Yonasan Bekiva, the Indian Svichim Amra, he's talking about Svichim. That's why you don't have a stira. If you apply his halacha to the regular payers that are growing, you have a problem. It goes going to the Bona, it goes to the Bekiva. But if I say it goes to Svichim, so it's for emphasis. Why? Kamoy the Bekiva Oma is the Svichim Torah. Uminat Torah Svichim Ba'achila b'shviyas. Kiva says that svichim that go by itself in shviyas it has a din of isra achila. Uba kosel atiram zok yes the Torah ba'asafta yes says Gemara you ought to be masabes to us b'shviyas. Back to the one on top in 1 minute. V'nayin l'tuah shaviyas shlish lifnei Rosh Hashanah. What kind of tuah? Now the Gemara says we're talking about sviach. This was it grew by itself, and this is 1/3 in the 6th year. Konsa oisa b'shviyas. And you'll have to now gather it, bring it into Shviyas. Tamalay V'saftas to us b'Shviyas. Megbendos, it's mutter. What are we talking about? We're talking about Svichim. And what is it in? Back here to the Ma'afolder. Uba Akosel Atirim and V'Yish Lish L'Nei Rosh Hashanah. That's mutter because it was Sviyah. The Rabbanon. Why do we say this goes according to the Bekiva? You know why? Because the Rabbanon hold ain't Svichim Asurim in Torah. It's only according to the Bekiva Rabbi But the Kiva is the one that says by Sviach it's also in HaTorah, but the Rabbanan don't say Sviach is also in HaTorah. So I don't need this whole drash. Why do you have to tell me a chiddush like the Rabbanan? That 1/3 grew in the 6th year. It's mutter, it's sviach, and if it's sviach, I feel lo yavish lish. Even though 1/3 was not growing in the 6th year, it's mutter b'chidim and atayim because it's only sviach. Elavadai, you have to say that this memra from the Yonis and Rabbi Yossi is talking about sviach is only going to the Bekiva Amra because he's the one that says asim and atayim, even though it's asim and atayim. But if this happened in the 6th year, 1/3 in the 6th year, then it's even according to the Bekiva, it's mutter. V'ochi daik Rabbi Loza, midim achalek Rabbi Yonis ben shlish lepochet mishlish. V'ivad Rabbi Yonis makes an afkaminah between 1/3. You go both the 6th year if it's 1/3. The zela shayach ella b'tvur. That's only shayach with tvur. What does that mean, tvur? Tvur means not grass. And what does that mean, not grass? When is it grass and when is it tvur? When is it? You know when? If you planted it, then it has the tvur. If it grew by itself, then it has a sum. How do I know that? This is the Yisrael Shtei in Yishalmi, that it's called the din of asavim. It has a din of asavim, so therefore it doesn't have a din of kedusha shvius. Kedusha shvius is only by tvur. B'chol peirush shvius namik, every other peirush shvius, I can't see Yisrael in peirush shvius. Going, oisin shalochu behem acha hashroshet. Those things that have a din, you go bust at hashroshet and quick root. Oy peirush ilan have a din, you go bust at chanota when it has a din of chanota by ilan. Oy godlu b'shishis v'nilkatu b'shvius, or peirush which grew in the 6th year, but you took it out of the ground in the 7th year. So you go bust lekita. So all these fashid halachas, he's going to enumerate. Shehi mitor on the concept of la'iyah bem kedusha shvi klal. Hainu tamed the noka dafke tvur. You know why he says only by tvur do we say that it's also? Because if it's not tvur and it's svichim, so tvur is a shem tvur. When does it have a shem tvur which you planted it? That has din svichim. Something that goes by itself is not a din of tvur. It has din of svichim. The is svichim noibem the bekiva not. It's only according to the bekiva that we say that something that grows by itself is considered also. Pirish b'kroksiv, keren, noka, tvua. We come down to, he's saying like this, it bothers him. Tvua is in the field, where you plant wheat, things in the field. What about a keren? Lafuki ilonas, less ben Mrs. Svichim, ilonas, there's no din of svia by ilonas. So then it's mutter b'achila if it grows by itself. Even according to the Bekiva, the Bekiva says svich is also when it grows by itself. That's not by trees. Pirish, the imloi came in olei the aidi b'svichin klal. Maybe it's mutter to bring it into the house. You don't have to be noyeg the din of kedusha shviyas that be minig hekef. V'zer rabbanami moeded the tzorach lina b'minatoyre minig hefke b'pei shviyas. Well, if he divre b'zira loy misayim divre blozer k'moeder b'kiva amal shlish harishan el reish shay. Now, avir pochas mishlish lifnei shviyas. What happens if it was 1/3, less than a third lifnei shviyas? Ubishviyas nigmara hashlish also mishum svira. Then we say that it's also mishum svira. V'loi chola on top on the right side. Amem gimel loi chala aleihom kedusha shviyas ala asavim koma. It is in asavim. Why is it asavim? Because it's svichem. In loktam asavim shasavim k'ahoyu kol gedaleim b'shishas. It grew 1/3 in the 6th year. Mutaras, so it's mutaras. Why is it no as kedusha shviyas? There's no din of kedusha shviyas. Why not? Because there's no kedusha shviyas on svichim. No, it's also b'achila, but as kedusha shviyas, it doesn't have. Because that's this gives what you see the Rambam what? No. That's the Chiddush Gemara. Lo chal and kedusha shviyas. That this gives the Gemara. Because Esav. That's what it says. The Gemara tells me that. Shukra hoya asav. Asav means it's Esav. It grows by itself. The bitterbugs. That's svichim. So Bekiva has a drash that says svichim. It's like also. You know what? It's only bechila. But if it's not tvua, it's kedusha shviyas. That's what it says.
If you hold the svichim, it's mutter, not the way we hold the
Bekiva. The whole thing is mutter. There's no kedusha shviyas. Yeah, there's no said. The chiddush is
there's no kedusha shviyas. What's the issue?
Achila.
What's the issue? It's the
Sphere. It's Hashem sphere. No, that's what it is. Sphere. Sphere is like it. But sphere is something which is also by chila. Tanai din by shviz. There's no sphere. That's what Rabbi Akiva learns. That's what Rabbi Akiva. Before you get two, let's go one more line. What happens on the second line on top of Mem Gimel Mishlish? Till now we're talking it was a shlish in the 6th year. So even though it has din of Sviach, it's not going to be also Kedusha Shvi, it doesn't have. What happens? Less than 1/3 in the 8th year, meaning less than 1/3 in the 7th year. Why? Because it didn't have 1/3. It had less than 1/3 lifnei shminas in the 7th year. It's mutter mishum svichim. Now it's already got much more complicated. Huh? Yeah, why? Why? You tell me there's no enough svichim. Why? Less than 1/3 in the 7th year. If it's less than 1/3 in the 7th year.
No, the 7th year going into the 8th.
Yeah, so we grew mostly in the 8th year. The roiv is in the 8th year, right? Not even 1/3 was in the.
Going to planting.
This is very much more complex. If you tell me that in Sviach goes was a shlish and had an issa shlichim in shlish because it's Sviach, meaning grew by itself, even though it's takos al Sviach, that's a issa achila, separate than something that grows by itself. Shvius is only by what, and it's without the Yisham, it's very hard to understand it. But Yisham is coming to tell me that's Esav. Esav is something that grows by itself. So it's only also else. It's achila from Sviach, but it doesn't have tuah, it doesn't have dinah kedusha shvi. But if observe, what's the next sentence? The next sentence says that if it didn't grow 1/3 in the 7th year, and the Sheminis comes around, now it's mutter mishum sviach. That's very understandable because it was not also. It didn't grow in the 7th year at all. It's only less than a unit third. So it doesn't have dinah sviach. What does it mean? Chalem kedusha shvius. What does that mean? Let me say in the Pnei Moshe. V'im v'yipos mishlish b'shvinas b'shvius lifnei shminas ipcha havir the mishum svichim. Now it's punkt verkehrt. He says. Till now you said the first Kimta. You said it's also mishum sviach and it doesn't have dinah kedusha shvius. Now if it's less than 1/3 in the 7th year, it's mutter mishum sviach because it didn't grow 1/3 in the 7th year. Most of it grew in the 8th year. What does this mean? Let's make this. What does it mean? What does this mean? You just told me now that if it's in Esav, there's no Kedusha Shviyas, and now you're telling me if there's no Sviyah, because it's less than 1/3 in the 7th year, so why is it a Kedusha Shviyas? The it's Weismandor, so good. So now you're talking about Sviyah, and it grew what less than 1/3 in the 7th year. So there's no Sviyah. So why is it a sum? It's a sum, right? If it's a sum, why is there not a Kedusha? Why is it Kedusha Shviyas? What's the pshat? And the rest of it grew when? It grew in the 8th year. So we came to the what's this mean? So why should this mean? Okay.
Why you have Kishra now, not before?
Before I have I didn't say it was a Shver before, but before I have a Gemara. The Gemara tells me Sviach is a Sovereign, and Baal Sviach is a Sovereign, so this is a new class by itself, and this is something which is Sviach, and only according to the Bekiva it's also, and that's only also Bechil, it's not also Kedusha Shviach. Why is it Kedusha Shviach? Because it's Esav, because it's Esav.
Yeah, but
it's Grus. It's Grus.
Not just because it's Esav. It's Shishas to get Esav.
Esav matter that Esav could have Kedusha Shviach. Esav could have a Kedusha.
Yeah, that's Shnei. How? If it's Esav, because it grew less than 1/3 in the 7th year, right? So there's no Esav Sviach, because less than 1/3. So no, and it's Esav, meaning it grew by itself.
Esav could have Kedusha. Esav of Shvius could have Kedusha.
When? You're telling me if it's 1/3 in Shvius, it's Sviach, and it's not Kedusha Shvius, and if it's less than 1/3,
it's already Esav in the 6th year. This was Esav already in the 6th year. It wasn't Chal, so then it can't be
no. 1/3 in the 7th year gets the din of Shvius, right? Then it's also. It's 1/3 in the 6th year, it's mutter, no Sviach. If it's 1/3,
no, the other way.
What are you talking about?
In the 6th year than it is.
No. Kiva says it's only Shviach. No, you go back to the third. The Via Pachas Mishlish Lefnei Shvias. The Nechnas is Shvias is Suda Mishon Shvias. You know why? Because it's less than a third in the 6th year. It's less than a third in the 6th year. Most of it grew in the 7th year. The Roiv is. That's why it's also Mishon Shvias. Because the Roiv is.